Good evening, I'm your host Clinton, and tonight is episode 3 of Quarantine Kitchen. I know these days are not so easy, and that's why comfort food is even better than usual, and tonight we're going to be making a pizza. And just because you're missing some ingredients doesn't mean you can't enjoy a good homemade pizza. Tonight we'll be making ours without yeast, something that I know a lot of you are struggling to find. So let's go ahead and start with the ingredients, as always. First, you need flour. Now, if you guys, I heard a lot of people are struggling to get flour. Thankfully, we have it. But if you are struggling, I'd like to suggest that you have other types of flour in your grocery stores. For example, here we have a corn flour. I saw there are several other ones. Don't be afraid to experiment with other types of flours. Second, salt. I like to have a mix of Italian herbs. So here we have some basil, oregano, thyme, I believe that's in here. You can always just go through your spice cabinet, see what you want. Baking powder, olive oil, tomato sauce, and mozzarella. And that's about it. And then you can add whatever vegetables you want on top, which we will go through later. But tonight, my main goal is to teach you how to make a very quick, very easy pizza dough without yeast. It takes approximately 15 minutes, and it's a great recipe, even when we're not in quarantine. It's something I used to make when I came home from high school. When I got home, it was quick, it was easy, it's tasty, and you still get that comfort food. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, with all of our ingredients prepared, we're going to go ahead and put in our flour first. For our flour, we have 2.5 cups. Then, we're going to add our baking powder. Here we have 3 teaspoons baking powder. And then finally, 1 teaspoon salt. Once you get that all in there, you're going to go ahead and mix it all up. Just a few swirls there. Now once you've done that, go ahead and set it to the side. We're going to take a small bowl. We're going to add 1 tablespoon olive oil. And then 3/4 cup water. And pretty much you can mix it up a little bit, but as we all know, it won't mix 100% because it's olive oil. Go ahead and bring back your flour mixture. You're not going to use the whisk anymore, so you can go ahead and put that to the side. And what you're going to do is you're going to slowly add the water and oil mixture to your flour mixture. And you're going to continue to mix it. You can either mix it with your hands or you can mix it with a wooden spoon until it's soft but not sticky. So let's go ahead and do that. Don't pour it all in at one time because just in case you have a little bit too much water. So we start with that. Go ahead and mix it in. Add a little bit more. Leave a little bit out just in case. It looks like we're going to be able to use it all up. Use a spatula to make sure we get the rest out of there. And now you're going to mix, once you have it all mixed up, you're going to look at the consistency because you're going to want it to turn into basically a big ball of dough, right? So here, if we're looking at how much I put in, it's looking a bit dry. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of water. And I suggest doing 1 tablespoon of water at a time until you get your ball consistency. Just add a little bit in there. And this is enough for 1 12-inch pizza, or just a large individual pizza. There we go, starting to get clumps together. Now this is usually when I switch to my hands. That way you can make sure you press it all up together. Now you see it's not that sticky, but it is soft. Make sure you get all that flour off the bottom. Add a little bit more water. And don't be afraid, if you accidentally add too much water, that's okay. You can always add a little bit more flour, which looks like we might need to do that because I added a little too much. That's okay. Anyways, it's better for me to show you guys. See that? That's too sticky. There we go, now we're getting a nice consistency. So, you might be wondering, if we can make a pizza dough so easily without yeast, why do we add yeast in the first place? And, well, I looked it up online, and the reason is apparently yeast gives it a nice flavor, and you're going to be able to get your dough a little bit thinner because of the consistency of it, but that's the most of the reason right there. So you can still make a very, very good pizza without it. There we go. See that, guys? That's about what you're going to be looking for. All right. Just add a tiny bit more flour. I like to have it a little floury on the outside. It's easier to work with. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to put all of this to the side, and we're going to use the surface of our counter here to prepare to make our pizza pie. So let's clean it all up. Put that there. Take a little bit of flour and dust your workspace. Of course, do this in a place you know you can get a little messy, because pizza dough is inherently going to be a little messy. Tonight we're going to be using all of the pizza dough, but if there's ever a case that you don't use all your pizza dough, you can go ahead and refrigerate it up to 24 hours. Just make sure you use plastic film over it that's sealed properly. And then you can also put it in your freezer if you want to have it saved for another night. And of course, that will last a bit longer. So, now we're going to use the rolling pin. Now, if you guys don't have a rolling pin at home, do not worry. You can try to do it by hand, or you can use a bottle of wine that you have in the recycling bin. Just wash it beforehand, and you should be good. So now we're going to roll out our pizza dough. It's important to flour your rolling pin because you don't want it to stick, right? Mm-hmm. And as you roll it out, it's going to get a little sticky again because you're flattening the inside of the dough out where there's no flour again. So I continue to flour the surface and flour my dough and flour the rolling pin. And I personally like to make my dough very thin because that means more pizza. Or at least it looks like more pizza. I love pizza. If any of you guys know me, you know how much I love pizza. It's my go-to comfort food. Right, Sion? He's nodding his head. All right, there we go. That is our pizza dough. Now I am going to cut this in half. Or actually, I'll probably just make a big circle out of it. Let's use a knife. And I'm going to redo it because I need to make sure it still fits on the pan, of course. And there's our first pizza dough. Okay, so we've gone ahead and put our oven on 200 degrees Celsius, that's 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And while we let that heat up, we are going to go ahead and dress our pizza. So I always like to make my tomato sauce with a little extra something. So this is the brand I like to use. I think the quality of the tomatoes are the best if you're going to be using pre-made tomato sauce or tomato crush, which is what this is. So first I put it into a bowl. By the way, this is largely available during quarantine time, so I highly recommend you do this. And then I'm going to take that Italian seasoning, but like I said earlier, you can use dried basil, dry oregano, whatever you would like. Put a generous amount inside. And then just mix it up. And that'll add a little bit of flavor to your tomato sauce. Now we're going to go ahead and grab a spoon. And we're going to dress our pizza. And you want to make sure you don't make it too watery, because then your pizza dough is going to have a tough time cooking, or it will take at least a little bit longer. And I personally don't like to leave too much space on the crust on the side because I want to maximize the space of my pizza, but that is up to each individual person. A little bit more. Okay, now that you have that on there, let's go ahead and put our cheese. Now tonight we're going to be using exclusively mozzarella, but like I said, it's quarantine times, so whatever cheese pretty much you can find in the grocery store, don't be afraid to experiment. Try a different type of cheese. I recommend a cheese that's more mild. You're going to get something closer to like what you would expect from a pizza. But then again, you can try whatever you want, and you can do mixes of cheeses as well. That's the beauty of pizza. Now, Simon and I love ourselves some cheese, and we're not eating this because it's healthy, we're eating it because it's delicious, so let's make it delicious, right? Once I put on a few slices of this, I'm going to take a light sprinkle of, again, mozzarella, but you can use another type of cheese. We often like to use Emmentaler to finish up those gaps between the slices of mozzarella. Now, tonight, for vegetables to put on our pizza, we're choosing to do a fully veggie pizza tonight, but you can always put whatever toppings you love. We talked about maybe putting chicken, you can put pepperoni, whatever floats your boat. But tonight, we're going to be doing things that are available during quarantine, which means canned goods. Just before that, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of garlic on top, because I think it gives it a nice little extra taste there. And of the canned vegetables we're using tonight from our collection, we're going to be using corn. Now, I know a lot of you guys may not be putting corn on your pizza, but actually it's quite tasty. It's one of my favorites. Sprinkle a little bit on there. Okay, looking good. Then we add some onion. Growing up, my favorite pizza, a shout out to you, Mom and Dad, was black olives and onions. Every time we ordered pizza in when I was a kid in the US, that's what I wanted. So for me, this is definitely going to be a good one. Just finish up the onion here. Make sure you spread it out evenly. There we go. And then finally, and finish it with those black olives I was just talking about. But really, pizza can have whatever you want on it. People like to say certain things don't go on pizza or whatnot. But let's be honest, the kitchen's the kitchen. You do what you want. So if you like something and you think it's going to be good on pizza, try it out. There we go. And there is our pizza. You're going to go ahead and put it in the oven for 15 to 17 minutes until it's golden brown on the crust. So we'll see you in 15 minutes.
15 minutes later.
Welcome back. It's been about 15 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and pull our pizza out. It smells amazing. There we go. Looks good too. Nice and sizzling. Now what I like to do to add on top of our pizza, now we are lucky to have been able to find it. It was the third time we ordered it and finally it came. But I love to put fresh basil on the top of our pizza. So if you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend it. Smells delicious.
Allez, maintenant, tous à table.
Welcome back. Now we're going to go ahead and eat and try our pizza. Before that, I just want to share we are trying it with a red wine tonight. It's a bottle of Saumur Champigny, which is from the Domaine Saint-Vincent. It's fruity and it's light. It should go nicely with the pizza. So, here we go. Consistency of the dough seems correct. And without surprise, it's delicious.